I feel constrained, not by metal chains, but by ceaseless thoughts that knock at the door of my mind every moment of the day. It's not just anxiety, it's obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, a psychological syndrome that restricts me and impedes my ability to think clearly. OCD is not merely a fixation on cleanliness, as some may assume. It's far more encompassing. I have compulsions when I touch anything, thoughts that invade me, telling me that if I touch this object, I'll fall ill or something terrible will happen. These thoughts are inescapable, no matter how hard I try. But the worst part is the rituals I have to follow afterward. Washing my hands until my skin cracks, using sanitizers in excessive amounts until I feel the sting of burns on my skin. My skin is now showing the toll these obsessions have taken. Eczema, fissures, and skin inflammations are escalating day by day. My husband, John, tries to understand what's going on, but how can someone who doesn't suffer from this condition grasp my torment? I love him deeply, and I know he loves me, but his love for me tortures him. He wants to touch me, to embrace me, yet I avoid all that, fearful of the bacteria and germs he might carry. I always thought that his love would be enough to conquer this disorder, but the reality is that OCD becomes like a glass wall between us. We can see each other but can't reach one another. And it seems this wall is thickening day by day. I'm not just avoiding John, I begin to distance myself from everyone, friends, family, co-workers. Socializing turns into an exhausting mental battlefield for me. Every moment carries the possibility that someone else could be holding something contaminated, something dangerous. People start to find me odd, aloof. They minimize contact with me, avoid me, look at me as if I'm insane. And I, for my part, find a comfort in this isolation. It minimizes the chance of exacerbating my obsessions. But it kills me inside. I am surrounded by people, yet I am alone. John becomes increasingly tense and anxious. Why won't you talk to me, Emily? What's happening to you? We can't go on like this. I have no answer. How can I explain a condition that only those who suffer from it can truly understand? I feel as though I'm drowning in a sea of loneliness and despair, and no one can save me. Not even John, the person who loves me and whom I love, begins to lose hope in my recovery. I feel guilt and regret for making him suffer this way, but at the same time, it compounds my sense of failure and helplessness, causing me to withdraw deeper and deeper into myself. Reality becomes a dark specter that haunts me, and it becomes hard to distinguish it from my obsessions. John tries, he tries so hard, but I can see in his eyes that he's nearing the breaking point. I realize that things won't improve unless I take a step, but fear and doubt cripple me. Can I truly return to a normal life? Can my relationship with John ever regain its former glory? Or is it already too late? As I try to adapt and control my obsessions, dermatological symptoms start appearing on my hands. I wash them so frequently and harshly that the skin begins to crack and redden. Each time I run my hands over my skin, the inflammation worsens. I no longer even have the ability to touch John, for fear of the contamination that could transfer to him, further deepening my isolation and loneliness. My married life turns into a string of cold conversations and painful moments. John begins to emotionally detach from me, unable to bear the psychological strain my condition imposes on him. Either you start treatment or we can't continue like this, he tells me one day after a long stretch of silence and tension. One day, when things come to a head, he asks for a separation. The moment is cataclysmic, shattering, yet at the same time, a part of me sees relief in it. It's as if a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, for I no longer have to feel guilty about John. But of course, this sense of relief doesn't last long. Loneliness begins to seize my heart, and my obsessions grow stronger and more intense. I start to doubt even my ability to live alone, to perform the simplest tasks. Sleeping, eating, showering, everything takes an abnormal amount of time and effort due to my obsessions. I become consumed by the thought that I will never be able to have normal relationships with anyone, or even with myself. I think about the future, and all I see is darkness and solitude. At this stage, my obsession becomes not just an ailment, but my identity. It is all I am and all I can ever be. Time passes, and I live in this dark world that I've created for myself, a world no one else can enter or understand. Even John, the person I once thought would be my life partner, the person I truly loved, is no longer a part of my life. And I remain alone, surrounded by the walls of my obsessive-compulsive disorder that I've built around myself. After my separation from John, the skin-related effects of my condition escalated significantly. My skin began to swell, and I started experiencing severe itching. Finally, I decided to consult a dermatologist, hoping to find a solution to this new problem added to my list of sufferings. After examining me, the doctor's opinion was both shocking and yet tinged with hope.
You have a serious skin irritation due to frequent washing, but there's something else. I noticed the way you reacted during the exam, and I believe it's tied to a psychological issue.
Possibly obsessive-compulsive disorder. You should see a psychiatrist. This revelation was a shock, but it was also the sign I needed to understand that my suffering was not merely a personal weakness or lack of control, but an illness in need of treatment. At that moment, I began to grasp the magnitude of the losses that this disease had inflicted upon my life. It wasn't just about John and me. It extended to my physical health and even my social relationships. Everything was crumbling, all because of a mental illness I hadn't even acknowledged existed. I decided to schedule an appointment with a psychiatrist, as I had nothing left to lose. That decision became the first step toward improvement, toward reclaiming what I had lost, or perhaps reclaiming myself anew. But the bitter truth is that the time that has passed will never return, and the things I have lost will never be as they once were. John, my health, my friends, all are gone. However, there is one thing still reclaimable: myself. I've learned the hard lesson that self-neglect can cost you everything, even yourself. Yet I am still here, I am still me, and for the first time in many years, I begin to feel that there is hope. A hope to live, not as a shadow of who I was, but as a complete individual, capable of love and life. Despite all the scars and wounds,